Hello, everyone, and welcome to the tavern. I'm the Dapper Bard, and today we are talking about Daredevil, Episode 7. Which, from my tone, you can tell that I'm a little bit better in terms of my mindset than I was with the previous episodes. But let's face facts. It doesn't matter if this show becomes 5 out of 5 for the last 3 episodes. Most of the audience has dropped off. Word of mouth is still very negative, and even if these episodes are mind-blowingly good, which I doubt they will be, getting people into the show with if you just watch like this part, and then the last 3 episodes, it's pretty good, isn't a great endorsement. As I used to say about certain anime series and other TV series, where someone would tell me, well, if you get through the first 8 volumes of this manga, or you get through the first 10 episodes of the show, it gets really good, dude. I'm not wasting that much time to get to the good part. I'll just skip it entirely and watch something that's good all the way through. Now, the big thing we kept hearing about prior to the show starting was that the last 3 episodes were completely done by the new team. So these are the good episodes, people. No more using footage from old episodes. Nah, this is the good stuff. This is the prime Daredevil. Yeah, not so much. So, let's break down Daredevil Born Again, Episode 7. Now, a lot of things do happen in this episode. It is fairly jam-packed with events, which is good because at least I wasn't bored for the majority of the episode, giving it a slight advantage over previous episodes. We open with Mayor Fisk learning that Daredevil has returned and was responsible for rescuing Angela at the end of the previous episode. Then we cut to Matt having a sadness shower, followed by a makeout session, followed by a discussion with his girlfriend about his issues. I guess to establish that they're really, really close, because we really haven't done that in the first 6 episodes, which you'd think we would have, considering they lived together. And then we go back to the Kingpin, who is like, we need to take down Daredevil no matter what. He got me in the past. He won't get me again. I am threatening. Believe me. I haven't been a complete loser for 6 episodes, and now suddenly I'm strong. I've been strong the whole time. Totally. Super, totally. Then we cut to Matt talking to Angela at the hospital about anything she could remember about dealing with Muse, which gives him at least some hints as to where Muse might be, or who Muse might be. Then we cut to Vanessa plotting something behind Kingpin's back, because of course she's this great criminal genius, as we've established in previous episodes. We then get one of those cut between 2 sequence things again that the director seems to really like to do. Section 1 involves Cop Lady explaining to Mayor Fisk what they've discovered after exploring Muse's lair, and it leads them to believe that there's this one crazy guy who knows Taekwondo who's probably Muse. Meanwhile, Heather that's Matt's girlfriend, by the way. I finally remembered her name. Anyhow, Heather is talking to this patient of hers, who is this artist guy and clearly Muse. This goes back and forth until Muse kidnaps Heather, and Kingpin is like, all right, I'm going to get my task force of psychopaths to go after this guy. Then for filler reasons, we cut to McDuffie being like, hey, Cherry, you and Matt are keeping secrets from me, and that upsets me. Stop that. Then we cut to the actual story again. The cops learn that Heather has been kidnapped, and they go out to try to rescue her. Meanwhile, Heather is there with Muse. They have a little threatening tete-a-tete. And then at a certain point, Heather just starts yelling at Muse about pointing a gun at her and being a coward for wearing a mask, which just enrages him and it makes him just beat her up more. And I'm like, that was a dumb move. If you're gonna have a psychologist get kidnapped, let them start psychologizing the person. Like, hey, I understand that maybe you're imagining your mother right now that you hate, and I'm not your mother, blah, 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 or whatever psychological thing you could work with. If you have a character who's a psychologist, use that in this kind of situation. Don't just have them bitch the guy out and for him to just get more enraged and wail on her more. And then while he's wailing on her, Daredevil just smashes through the window because he has the ability to just know where the plot needs him to be. They get a big Taekwondo versus brawling fight. It's pretty good. And then it ends with Heather grabbing the gun and shooting Muse a few times, which, okay, interesting choice. Didn't expect Muse to die this early, but, you could go somewhere with this. This could build into something. Matt then leaves as the cops bust in, and this leads into Fisk being like, Daredevil was never here. You guys are the heroes. That's how we're going to report it in the news. And we're going to find Daredevil and take him down because I don't like that guy. We then cut to Zoomer Guy, and he's talking to BB. No BB Chanaroo this time around. I can't even use the graphic. It's kind of a bummer. Anyhow, Zoomer Guy is like, hey, if you don't report that the cops were the real people and that Daredevil is propaganda, there could be consequences. And I'm a real threatening dude because I'm a short, chubby guy. You don't want to know what short, chubby guys can do when we get upset. And she's like, but seriously? And he's like, yeah, seriously. And she's like, but seriously though? And he's like, yeah. Why aren't you taking me seriously? I'm super threatening. I'm Tony Soprano's kid, damn it. We finally cut to Matt at the hospital with Heather, and she's talking about how Daredevil knew her name and how she's freaking out that she killed a person. But Matt is like, hey, you know what? You went through a lot of trauma, but you're not hurt that bad. The doctors say you'll be able to come home soon. That's going to be good. I love you. And she's like, yeah, let's watch the TV. Where then you get Mayor Fisk doing a whole, our cops did a great job and vigilantes need to know their place. I don't care why you wear the mask. We're taking you down. And then we get like a music montage showing a few characters doing a few little things, and then we go to credits. It's a lot of stuff that just goes by boom, 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 boom. And you're like, oh, okay, slow down, show, slow down here. There's a lot of weird moments in the story and the writing that I'll get to some of that in the character section, but it's really breakneck paced compared to what we had before, which, while I do appreciate getting an actual story this time around, I'm still stuck in the point that we had to go through 6 episodes of no story to get to this point, and it does show that the new showrunners actually know how to tell a story, albeit not a great one, but a story nonetheless, and it is superior to what came before, but it still is really weak, especially when you compare it to the Netflix series, which is just so good. They don't rush through stuff, they build things up, characters have reasons why they're where they're at, not just showing up there because the plot needs it to happen. Writing is so weak in this show, and the characters are where it really gets emphasized. Okay, character-wise, this doesn't have a lot of stuff going for it, so let's kind of get through this quickly. Matt has a brand new superpower. It is called knowing exactly where he needs to be when he needs to be there, so that's cool. Last episode, he just found Muse's lair like it was no big deal, and this episode, he just found Muse's apartment like it's no big deal. I guess he read the script, or someone told him, or bad writing. I'll go with that one. It's bad writing. It's just unfortunate that he doesn't have a lot of great scenes in this episode. He has his weird new plot powers, and the forced relationship between him and Heather just always comes off feeling shallow and fake. And maybe if we'd seen more of their growing relationship, it would have helped instead of just, no, we super totally love each other, deal with it. And I'm like, okay. I mean, for all intents and purposes, they don't even need the meet cute sequence at the beginning of the series. They could have just begun with them as a couple, and I just have to deal with the fact that at some point he got together with this girl, because that would be just as compelling. Then we have Wilson Fisk. They try to make him more intimidating and tough in this episode, but it doesn't make up for all the sequences with the therapist, no one taking him seriously, of him just seeming weak and ineffectual, especially around his wife. I get it. He's supposed to be this big bad, but he just doesn't come off like a big bad. He comes off like just a past his prime dude who probably played football in his youth and still thinks he's tough, but no one really takes him seriously anymore. And that's kind of sad, because that's not what the Kingpin is, nor is it what the Kingpin should be. And yet that's the Kingpin we've been given. Then we have Heather. I've avoided talking about her for a while now because she's just an empty shell of a character, and this episode doesn't do much to change my opinion about her, which is rather unfortunate because her shooting Muse is going to have major ramifications. Maybe. Her little sequence with him shows how poorly written she is, where she should have been more of a therapist in terms of how she approaches and deals with him. Go and compare her talking to Muse in this episode to one of the early episodes of season 3, where you get the flashback where Dexter is talking to his therapist about accidentally killing his coach and how that therapist functioned to keep him stable, to prevent him from going too crazy, and that the loss of that therapist starts to put him down a very dark road. That therapist was written in a way where she had a full understanding of what Dexter was capable of and tried to guide him down a good road, to control his impulses, to learn to be a better person, to how to empathize, things like that. Compared to Heather, Heather is a terrible therapist, and she is written by someone who either has never talked to a therapist before or doesn't understand how you use a therapist in fiction, or absolutely hates therapists and just wanted to see one get the crap beat out of her. I don't know, but she comes off relatively terribly, and that's unfortunate, because Heather could have been a character, and instead she's an empty shell who has weak emotional moments that I'm supposed to believe. Finally, we have Muse. I wish we got more of this character. Yes, Muse is in the background of a few different episodes, la-di-da, but this is the first time we really get to see him as him, talking, explaining some of his backstory stuff. I wanted to see more of that. I wanted to see him grow as a character. The fact that he died in this episode kind of ruins what could have been a very interesting villain. And instead, he's just gone. We're done. Done with that plot. And I'm like, why would you do that? I understand him getting away again might be very difficult or hard to explain, but there are ways you could have done that. And they didn't. They just and now he's dead. Moving on. I'm like, oh, cool. There's a lot of buildup for basically nothing. Kind of a major anticlimax of this character. And when you start to introduce aspects of him that sound very interesting, like his very odd childhood, being trained by a Taekwondo master, stuff like that, I'm like, oh wow, there's some really cool stuff you could do here. And instead we just don't. That's it. That's all she wrote. Guess we'll just have to deal with new villain, probably the corrupt cops or something in the last 2 episodes. Coolsies. Almost no one else did anything in this, so yeah, that's it for characters. Mostly bland and poorly written, and nothing they do in this episode makes up for the sins of the previous episodes, which they could have edited a lot of that stuff out and made these characters come off a lot stronger or a lot more interesting. Muse should have been a character throughout the series, not just in 1.5 episodes. So let's move on to the aesthetics. There isn't a whole lot I can talk about in terms of the aesthetics this time around. On the audio side of things, it's about what we've been getting for all the other episodes. Not bad, not great, nothing special. There is a little bit of diegetic music as we get our little music montage where it seems to fade between diegetic and non-diegetic depending what character we are focused on and whether they're listening to the song or the song's just playing. A nice little effect there. I do appreciate that, but it's nothing like spectacular and the song wasn't anything amazing. A fine enough way to end up the episode, I guess. On the visuals, however, we get better camera work for the first time in a while. We actually can see nice angles that they're using, different ways of cutting and moving around, not just the same static, straight head to the camera kind of stuff, but actual cinematography. Nice surprise. I actually do appreciate that. Then we have the fight. Now, the fight is better than some of the previous fights in terms of how it is shot. The fight itself is still kind of a mess and not well choreographed, but the shooting of it is a lot better than some of the previous fights that felt very shake the camera, cut. We no longer have that, at least. We do get longer shots, we do see the fight from better angles. It is better than previous ones, but pales in comparison to anything from Netflix. Even in this show, I expect the fight with Muse to be something better than this. This felt very bland as a fight. I'm sure there was some weird usage of CG in there that I didn't really see, because a lot of the fights have had weird usages of CG. And maybe that's what's throwing me off. Like, I'm not picking up on it, but it's there. To use that line from Red Letter Media, you didn't notice it, but your brain did. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. There's something off about the fights that I just don't like. It is a marked improvement over previous episodes. And as I say, credit where credit's due. They are trying harder than whoever was the original people in charge of the show. But it still comes off a lot more plain. And considering how we were rushing through stuff, I feel like I should have been more engaged by the usage of sound and visuals, and yet I just wasn't. I'm not invested in the show anymore because I've had 6 episodes of mostly garbage. I'm not seeing enough of an improvement to say, oh, the aesthetics are totally making this worth it. I'm really seeing more of the whole, well, it's better than bad, but that doesn't make it good. It just makes it fine. Let's wrap this up. Frankly, you can see an improvement in this over what we got. It's not going to be this super great, amazing thing, which I'm sure some people online will say it is. Like I said, the camera work has improved, but the storytelling is still rushed, and people just get to places they need to be for the sake of the story. Characters are just a complete mess, and killing who was set up as the big bad before the end of the series isn't really a great subversion. It just makes me go, oh, so the corrupt cops are going to be our big final bad. All right, cool. I'd rather have a cool supervillain type as our big bad rather than just some corrupt cops or the Kingpin yet again or whatever the plan is, because it just doesn't excite me. It's stuff I've already seen or just characters I know nothing about, so why should I care? We are told that these cops are super corrupt, and yes, one of them did shoot White Tiger, but beyond that, we haven't really seen these cops do anything really super terrible. I need more than just they're dirty cops. I need to see them do dirty cop stuff. And that's something you could have done throughout the series, and now it's just going to be dirty cops versus Daredevil. Cool. He already beat them up without his Daredevil costume and beat sticks. So, all that being said, my final verdict on episode 7 is a 2.5 out of 5. Visually, this episode is a marked improvement, and the storytelling is improved in the point that stuff happened, but unfortunately, it's hyper rushed. There are major plot holes, and characters just make stupid decisions or have personality changes in order to allow the story to happen, which just... what? Why? And honestly, if this season was on Netflix, I can tell you right now, I'd have stopped binging. I'd have gotten probably to episode 4-ish and then said, why am I watching this? This is garbage. And the only reason I'm watching this Disney version is because I said I would, and I'm a man of my word. And at this point, I'm so far through it, I may as well finish. If you've gone this far through the marathon, finish the last mile. And that's what I intend to do. I will finish the last mile. But maybe you're enjoying this show more than I am. Let me know in the comments if you are. But I get the feeling you're one of the many people who is just watching us, and by us I mean me and several other YouTubers, make fun of the show, yell about the show, etc., because it's kind of fun to watch people rip on the show, rather than actually caring about what the show has to offer, which admittedly isn't much. So, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It really helps my channel out, and as I've recently crossed over 1,000 subscribers, I'm getting really hyped up about how many opportunities are coming up that will allow my channel to become bigger and better. Thank you to everyone for watching, thank you for subscribing, and most importantly, just remember, I'll see you at the tavern.